Hi, this is Mitch Tanebaum. Thanks for joining me today. This is the security news update for November 20th, 2022. We're almost at Thanksgiving. For those of you who celebrate that, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. In the software and hardware to check out department, maybe it should be in the legal department, not sure. Google is trying to put lipstick on their pig called their ad revenue. They have been on the wrong side of many lawsuits, including one that I'll talk about in a minute. And so they're trying to change their tracking strategy. And what they're doing is changing the name more than anything else. They're not going to give up the data. That's just too much money for them. So what they're going to do instead is just, kind of change the name, put a little lipstick on it, and see whether anybody notices that really there's nothing changed. So in early 2023, on Android 13 first, but then on Chrome and other platforms, Google is rolling out what they're calling a privacy sandbox. They're replacing the cross-application identifiers with new names, attribution reporting, topics, and fledge. Topics, for example, infers what the user is interested in by looking at the websites they go to. So, if you go to a whole bunch of sports websites, then they're going to infer that you're interested in sports. And if you only go to football websites, then they're going to infer that you're interested in sports, but really only in football. So does this mean any different? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. Um, but the bigger issue is that if you use Google ad buys and other analytics, the tools are going to change, the statistics are going to change, and probably the mechanics of how you actually buy ads are going to change. And this is going to start happening in early 2023 on some phones. So be prepared, stay tuned, and watch what Google is doing. In the important patches department, the Homeland Security says that if you are running Zimbra, which is a productivity suite similar to Office, except it's open source, and you haven't already patched it, then you should assume that you're compromised. That's not terribly comforting, but probably it's realistic. So from that perspective, if you're using Zimbra A, number one, patch immediately, and B, look for signs of compromise and decide whether you have to rebuild your server or not. Not great. In the legislative department, as I said, Google agreed to pay $391 million to settle lies about tracking you on Android. The issue was that you thought you had turned off tracking, and you did turn off tracking in one place, but Google had another place, and if you didn't turn off tracking in this other place, you really didn't turn off tracking. So from that perspective, they were lying. They agreed to pay off the states to the tune of $400 million. And they said, oh, and by the way, after you sue us, we stopped doing that. So, the challenge is there's just too much money, billions and billions of dollars, and how they're going to go off and do it. What they are required by the settlement to be more transparent. I think I'll take a wait and see attitude to see what that actually means. In the breaches department, the FBI said that the Hive ransomware gang has extorted about $100 million from over 1,000 companies in the last 18 months. So that's certainly a lot of money for sure. And if you don't pay the ransomware, they apparently install additional malware on your computer. So it just kind of sucks. That's all. Next, the Bill Bug Group targets certificate authorities. This is particularly worrisome, and government agencies. Government agencies get attacked all the time, so no news there. The problem with certificate authorities is that the result of the attack could be that they could mint their own security certificates, which means they could sign websites in code, and it looked like it was coming from people that you trust. Apparently, they caught these guys and blocked it. I mean, they didn't catch the bad guys, but they caught the attack and blocked the destruction. I'm not sure how much I believe that, but hopefully that really is the case. Assuming it is the case, then I think we lucked out this time. But nonetheless, I mean, assuming they did block it, it was a really close call. Next, in the hacking department, Iran attacked the U.S. Merit Systems Protection Board. What they did, interestingly enough, is they installed a crypto miner. Now, that doesn't do much malicious activity, but obviously the point is they could have installed anything they wanted to at that point in time, and they chose just to kind of give people a shot across the bow, saying we were here and you didn't stop us. I think governments are really challenged because they don't have the talent, they don't have the money, and that makes it really hard for them to protect things. On the other hand, they're also a very, very rich target. So, excuse me, that's a real problem. What happened in cryptocurrency this week? FTX, the crypto exchange, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Their CEO, remember, they're based in the Bahamas. Where else would you put a financial services company that you trust and give them all your money, or virtual money, or pretend money, play money, whatever you want to call it? Not only did they file for bankruptcy, the CEO is now sitting on a beach in the Bahamas. His net worth went from $1 billion to zero. But they said about $500 million is missing. It's not much, just $500 million. So Sequoia Capital, who was one of their big investors, zeroed out their investment on their books and said, have a nice day, guys. And according to their new CEO, this is the biggest dumpster fire he's seen. He's seen a lot. He sat over the dissolving of Enron, so he's seen some pretty nasty stuff. Next, dirt is coming out about San Francisco's new police surveillance law. The law allows the police to, quote, ask, whatever that means, anybody to allow them to tap into their video feeds. Now, they haven't said how they're going to do this. They're not going to say whether this is going to be public. I think it's really challenging for people to say no, because you don't want the cops on your bad side, and who knows what they could trump up to go off and charge you with, or find bad things, or just not show up the next time you call them. There's no guardrails in the law, and now it's coming out that the police apparently created talking points. When they had a public comment period in the city council for this bill, when it was a bill in September, the people were reading talking points created by the police. So it's just anything but transparent, and that seems to be the watchword these days. So San Francisco, you need to get your act together. Next, even friendly governments, whatever those are, use spyware to cover up corruption. And in this case, it's the European Union. A draft report from the EU Parliament says that EU governments have used spyware to spy on their citizens for political purposes, and also to cover up corruption and criminal activity. None of that is good. The committee says the European Council has taken a page from the mafia's playbook and is practicing omerta, silence, and they are calling for a full-blown investigation of everything. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens there. And last, in the security news bites, remember last week I talked about Mastodon had grown to 1 million users. Now it's 6 million users. And that's all obviously people dripping off of Twitter. But of course, they still have billions of users. So, they're not hurting in that regard. The biggest issue for them, obviously, is a lack of advertisers. Next, EV charging stations have been demonstrated to be easy to hack, and, by the way, used to take down the electric grid. Nice. Next, Thales, the big defense contractor, denies getting hacked. It says it wasn't our fault. It was a vendor that we picked. Well, I'm not sure that's going to make anybody terribly happy that, it wasn't them. It was just one of their vendors. The result is the same. And also, researchers have figured out that it's pretty easy to hack the network on things like the space station, rocket ships, airplanes, and stuff like that. Not great. So maybe it's time to send a repair crew out to the moon or Mars to repair all those various things that we have out there. The challenge is that's pretty challenging. And finally, The Brits have blocked the takeover of a chip maker by the Chinese. It's not a huge chip maker. I think it's meant to make a point more than anything else. And they, of course, it took them 18 months after the buyout, and they're now saying, "Gee, you ought to go sell it." So we shall see what happens there. This, by the way, is the same way the U.S. law works. It's the same way, FIRMA, which allows the government to go back and unwind deals. So not the optimal situation, because if they were looking for technology to steal, they probably already stole it. So obviously, as you can tell, hacking and hackers is big business. And if you're concerned you might not be bulletproof, then please reach out and give us a call. We'll be happy to help. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Turnkey Cybersecurity and Privacy Solutions offers the complete cybersecurity program for small to medium-sized businesses. They include everything needed to secure your business and meet compliance requirements. Visit our website at turnkeycybersecurityandprivacysolutions.com to learn more.